Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's edition of the Royals Rundown podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. This show, as always, is brought to you by RoyalsReview.com, your one-stop shop for all things Kansas City Royals. Whether you need to know about the latest news, hottest prospects, or want to chat with other rabid Royals fans, you could do so only at RoyalsReview.com. I am Jacob Milham, and I am joined today, per usual, by the man with the mohawk, Jeremy Greco. Jeremy, how are we feeling this Wednesday? Don't you say hump day. Don't you do that Geico commercial again.
All right, I won't. I'm worn out, honestly. It was we had storms come through here last night and so I didn't sleep great, but we're going to power through here.
All right, sounds like a good plan to me. We do have some Royals stuff to talk about. First, we got to talk about the Adam Duvall and Starling Marte news that's come out. Plus, I was putting together the rumblings for Wednesday morning, and I found it's a pretty consensus opinion that the Kansas City Royals are not going to go back to the playoffs. So we got to talk about that. Plus,
Sure.
MLB Pipeline released the Royals' top 30 prospects. And lastly, you dropped a little bit of MLB The Show knowledge on me, so I want to talk about that.
Yeah.
Listen, I do want to start off with the Adam Duvall and Starling Marte stuff. So
Sure.
Duvall, it's been a while since we've had some off-field news regarding the Kansas City Royals, so it's always a big deal when any of it happens. Apparently, the Royals made an offer to Duvall, a longtime MLB veteran, only for him to reject it. Apparently, the Royals offered him a $1 million contract after he had a -1 FWAR season, after he had a 58 WRC plus year. And he said, no, I'm worth more. I'm worth at least $3 million, or else I'm going to retire. I don't know how to slice this because I get it. He was great against lefties, but man, he would have been one of the worst Royals outfielders last year with his performance. And that's saying something. The position group was one of the worst at the plate, and he would have been on the wrong end of the spectrum. I mean, I just kind of tossed my hands up when I heard this news, Jeremy. What about you?
Yeah, so first of all, I didn't read that as I'm worth more than 1 million. I read that as if I don't get at least 3 million, it's not worth the effort. I've already made millions of dollars. I'm not going to put in the effort for a full MLB season for $1 million at this point, which I don't super blame him. Like, if I had as much money as he had, I would also want to just retire and go do some other stuff. Maybe spend time with family. I don't know if he has a family, but I'm sure he's got hobbies or other things he'd like to do than train and lift weights and run and all that jazz that no red-blooded American likes to do. So I don't blame him for that. It is a little weird that the Royals tried to sign him. And that you mentioned he mashes lefties, which, I guess he could be a platoon partner for an MJ Melendez, but they've already got Hunter Renfroe, and Hunter Renfroe doesn't mash lefties, but are you just going to give this guy 1 million and cut Renfroe? What was the plan? That's where I get lost.
Yeah, and I don't know. He doesn't he wouldn't raise the floor or the ceiling of the Royals right now. And if this is a guy that you're looking at him and you're signing him to a minor league deal, he can come in and he can try to compete for a spot, then I'm fine with that. Guys like Kevin Pillar or Manuel Margot, I think is how you say his name.
Yeah.
Those are guys who have had good seasons in the past, but struggled in 2024. So now they have to prove themselves over again. Duvall, he's 36 years old. I don't blame him for not wanting to mess around with that. But this isn't a guy that I would want the Royals to sign. And I don't think that he brings a whole lot of surefire solutions to a team that needs that in the outfield. Now, the other end of the spectrum, apparently, so we spoke earlier, I think it was in January, midway of January, Joel Sherman of the New York Post brought up that the Kansas City Royals were talking with the New York Mets about trading for Mets outfielder Starling Marte, a guy who I wouldn't say underperformed to the level of Duvall, but underperformed to his contract to the point of where the Mets have had to go out and get other outfield help to make up for his lack of production. Now Sherman's still saying that the Royals have not entirely taken trading for Marte off the table. He said earlier this week that they have not totally extinguished the possibility. His words exactly. So take that for what you will. I didn't hate the move then, and I don't hate it now. I get it that he makes a ton of money. I think he's set to make 19.5 million this year. If the Mets are set to eat some of that, well, he is better against lefties. I know the batting average is about 50 points better from Duvall to Marte. And I don't know, if you make a platoon with him, maybe there's something there. And at least overall last year, he was an above average batter. He did have a 104 WRC plus. So there's no movement here, but it's still kind of an idea that's reportedly flitting out there. But does that really do anything to make you jump for joy, Jeremy?
I mean, I think Marte would be more than a platoon bat. I think he would become the team's designated hitter, probably.
Mm-hmm.
And then you would go back to platooning Renfroe and Melendez in right field, because Marte can hit righties, whereas Duvall can't. He's better against lefties than he is righties, but he's not awful against righties. He's not unplayable against righties. Though if the Biggio can carry over his spring into the regular season, maybe he's the platoon guy somehow, mixing and matching at positions. So I don't hate the idea of bringing Marte. He was one of the guys I targeted when I said here's some trades the Royals could make as spring training was just about to start. I thought maybe they could get Marte and Brett Beatty, and do something a little funky with Michael Garcia over there at third base as well. But we'll just have to wait and see. I guess there's still 2.5 weeks of spring training, so there's still time for moves to be made. And again, it's Marte. This is not like football where they got to learn a new playbook. If you know how to play right field and you know how to swing a bat, you know how to play right field and you know how to swing a bat. You don't, you might go to a new team and they might tell you, hey, what if you changed the way you did this a little bit? But it's always minor adjustments, not like, oh, now you're going to run routes this way instead of that way.
Right.
Or something like that. And it's not like he hasn't been preparing. This is not a situation where he signs after being a free agent all off season, where he has maybe not been working out as hard as he should have been, or has not been ramping up. He's been ramping up with the Mets for their spring training over in Florida in the Grapefruit League. So, if the Royals acquired him the day before opening day, I would think he would be ready to go.
Mm-hmm. And I will say this: the Royals might be more willing to make this move than we realize. If you recall, Jeremy, last trade deadline, there was a lot of smoke around the Royals trading for Luis Rengifo with the Los Angeles Angels. And then right shortly after that report came out, Rengifo had some sort of injury, and that just went away. Well, Marte, in that same vein, he's been dealing with the knee injury this spring. I know as of March 3rd, he had yet to make his spring training debut with the New York Mets.
Oh,
so maybe, what'd you say?
He's not ready.
But at the end of the day, like you said, he's going to be a designated hitter. He's not, I wouldn't expect him to be like the regular guy out in right field.
I think under certain circumstances, you might see him playing right field against lefties maybe, but for the most part, you'd see him playing designated hitter.
Correct. So all that to say, maybe the Royals are just waiting on a clean bill of health before they make a move right before opening day, or maybe they've just taken that off the table and Sherman is unaware of that due to that injury. That's something, it doesn't really matter. Marte's not in Surprise, Arizona with the Kansas City Royals. Frankly, that's kind of all I care about right now, Jeremy. I know that sounds a little cocky, but right now I'm just focused on the on-field product that the Royals have down in the Cactus League.
Speaking of the on-field product down in the Cactus League, Jacob, can I read to you tonight's starting lineup?
Let's hear it.
We've got Jonathan India in left field, Bobby Witt Jr. at shortstop, Vinny Pasquantino at first base, Salvador Perez catching, Michael Massey at second, Hunter Renfroe in right, MJ Melendez at designated hitter, Michael Garcia at third, and Joey Weimer in center.
Mm.
Jacob, that looks to me like an opening day lineup.
Yeah,
Minus, I would think Kyle Isbell would be the guy in center.
I would think so as well. But yeah, you
But
could.
everything else there, and including Jonathan India in left field. The interesting thing to me is I had in my opening day lineup prediction, I mean, it was even in the same order, was I had Melendez in right instead of a designated hitter.
Right.
So, and that could be, again, another spring training little quirk, the same way Weimer is in there for Isbell.
Good.
Royals are telling us that the regular season is coming.
They're waving that flag right now. And yeah, we're less than, actually, no, excuse me. We're not less than 3 weeks. We are about 3 weeks away from opening day right now. Yeah, this definitely looks like an opening day lineup. Sans, that guy in the 9 hole. I would expect Kyle Isbell to be the primary center fielder over Joey Weimer.
Well,
But
against a righty, I think that they could be a true platoon
yeah, you
with
think so?
Weimer against lefties, because he's hit lefties even at the big league level,
Okay.
and Isbell against righties. So if they open against a lefty, you might see Weimer,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
but I think that's how that's gonna work out. I don't remember now actually if I have Weimer in my on my bench now. I think I left him off, but I probably shouldn't have.
And that is, I think I want to talk about this on Sunday a little bit more because Matthew Lamar had a good article up this morning, kind of breaking down how an opening day roster can take shape for not just the Royals, but for any team. Like, look, these are how options come into play. This is how the 40-man roster comes into play. And then he started naming off some specific scenarios regarding the Royals at the very end of that article. I did want to talk to you, Jeremy, because we've spoken several times about the players that lack options right now.
Yeah.
Guys like Nick Prado, Nelson Velasquez, Carlos Hernandez, Sam Long, even. Those guys are, I wouldn't say that they're on a roster bubble, but the fact that they don't have those options anymore could play into where they are playing after opening day 2025. So I'm sitting right now, if those guys don't have options, and let's say you carry Biggio onto the major league roster, I do think that right now Nelson Velasquez would be the path that the Kansas City Royals have to take, at least for banking on the upside. And all their actions showed me last year that they don't see Nick Prado as even a short-term solution at first base or at a corner outfield spot. So why carry him on the opening day roster? But Jeremy, am I off base, or how do you feel about that, just that last little bench spot in Kansas
I
City?
I think, and I just checked my last roster prediction again. My bench was Fermin, Biggio, Rave, Lofton.
That's right,
So
Rave.
if I did it again today, I'd swap out Lofton for Weimer,
Okay.
remembering that they have a bunch of infielders with a lot of versatility already, in that they think Jonathan India could play a little third, Michael Garcia could play all over. Biggio is a super utility guy, so maybe you want a couple outfielders. And as I think more about it, the other thing is, if you're going to have backup outfielders, I think the thing you want your backup outfielders to have the things that your starting outfielders don't have. Your starting outfielders have power. So your backup outfielders should have some of that speed and some of that defense that they lack, since nobody here has a lot of contact to add.
Unfortunately not.
So that's why I look at a John Rave who can
Mm.
play all three outfield positions. I look at a Joey Weimer who can play all three outfield positions and is extremely fast. And I say those are the guys I want on the bench. I get it. Prado and Velasquez don't have options. Okay. Bye guys.
Bye. Move
You
on.
don't have options, but you don't have anything to offer me.
Right. Right.
And I know Velasquez gave us that 2023 post deadline burst, and that was amazing. But did any of us really believe like that was going to continue?
I don't think anyone legitimately did.
And then it
Um,
didn't.
it really didn't.
And
So
so
that is
you've already
that is
got
frustrating.
you've already got corner outfielders who've got a little bit of power and not a lot of contact and not a lot of defense. You don't need Nelson Velasquez to sit on your bench to offer more. Like, when is he going to get in the game? Oh,
Right.
well, he can come in for Renfroe. Okay, but he has the exact same offerings that Renfroe does. Why would you swap them out?
True. Hey, that's a good point. That's a good point, Jeremy. And I do think that I'm turning it over in my head right now, so excuse me if it doesn't come out crystal clear. I Whenever I look at an opening day roster, like I focus too much on, okay, who has to come off the 40 man for this
Mhm.
non-roster invitee. I think as of right now, I think Biggio is the only non-roster, or excuse me, is a non-roster invitee who has the strongest chance of
Yeah.
making the opening day roster. Rave is another NRI, has been in the Royals organization, but I mean, if you move on from both Velasquez and Prado, well, then I mean,
There's your
maybe
openings. Though
yeah,
I
there's
also
there's
think
your
Wright
openings.
I think Wright could start the year on the 60-day IL.
Yeah, I think he could as well, and that would open up another spot for perhaps a pitcher or another. I feel like the Royals 40 man is pretty full up on outfielders, even as of right now.
Yeah.
So that I might just be looking too much into that, and plus, the Royals don't have another catcher on the 40 man outside of Perez and Fermin. So
Yeah, I don't think that's going to change. I think
yeah,
Luke Mail is gonna sit in Omaha the same way that Austin Nola did all last year,
okay,
and if they need him, they'll find a way to add him to the 40-man roster and worry about it then.
there you go, there you go.
And if Mail for some reason leaves, you've got O'Keefe, I think, is the next guy up that a
Yeah,
lot of
Brian
people
O'Keefe.
think. So, but that's the plan, is we're not going to put 3 catchers on the 40 man because we're not going to use any but these 2 unless we absolutely have to.
There you go. There you go. Moving on to the next topic. So, like I said, we put out the Royals rumblings every single morning over at royalsreview.com. It's a great spot to kind of set the tone for all the Royals related stuff, the sports related stuff for. So I highly suggest you check it out in the mornings. But when I was putting together today's edition of it, I was finding a really common thread as these writers are giving out their final offseason grades. We saw ESPN and The Athletic and CBS kind of come out with their grades in the past couple of days. A common thread was that the Royals had a solid offseason, but it wasn't enough to make them a postseason favorite, even in the AL Central. I can't say that I'm surprised by that,
Mm,
though.
I'm a little surprised. Here's the question I have the first question you have to ask about any team's offseason. Is the team better or worse than they
The
were
Royals,
last year? They're better. I think they're better. I think Michael Lorenzen is a poor man's Brady Singer, and I think Jonathan India greatly improves the lineup. They're
yeah,
better. The bullpen is significantly better. Lucas Urseg and Carlos Estevez instead of
Will
Will
Smith and
Smith
James
and
MacArthur.
no, not James MacArthur. I wasn't thinking. Nick Anderson was the guy I was
Yeah,
getting
yeah,
from
yeah.
there. Yeah, yeah. You think that might be an improvement?
Yeah,
And then you've got Hunter Harvey in there. I mean, you've got James MacArthur was the second guy up as the closer, and he's probably not going to start the year on the big league team,
probably not. Probably not.
even if he's healthy. So because he has options. So
Right.
that's kind of where we're at right now. And I'm still a believer in James MacArthur, so don't get that twisted. But the team is better. So that's the answer to the first question: is the team better? So then my second question is, did they make the playoffs last year? I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Jacob. I believe the answer to that question is yes. Yes, they made the playoffs last year.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they did. I mean, we can go ask Baltimore Orioles fans if you wanted to.
Wow.
If the Royals made the playoffs, we can go ask them that.
That's spicy, Jacob. That's
Little
that's very spicy.
little cayenne.
And then okay, so then the next question I have is, did any of the other teams who didn't make the playoffs improve their team more than the Royals improved theirs? Now, the Tigers improved their team pretty well, I think. The Red Sox improved their team pretty well. So you could say The Red Sox are now giving the Royals a run for their money. They tied with the Tigers and then got in by virtue of record against the Tigers.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, maybe there's some threat there, but the Guardians seem to be worse, I think. The Yankees
I think
seem
so.
to be worse, I think. The Orioles seem to be worse, I think. The Astros seem to be worse, I think. I mean, they lost Kyle Tucker and Alex Bregman out of their lineup.
It's a big loss.
Yeah.
Big loss.
So, I don't know that I would call the Royals favorites for the playoffs. But I think when I pick them for the playoffs, when we do the Royals review roundtable preseason prediction thing, because I will pick the Royals for the playoffs at that point, no one will be laughing at me. No one will be like, "What a homer!" When like they were last year when I said they would go 84-80.
Yep.
Or 82-80. Oh, it's just. They're on the bubble of the playoffs. It's hard to say that they're favorites for the playoffs, but they're not long shots by any stretch of the imagination.
No, and I think if you go and look at the projected odds right now, they're kind of middle of the pack, but that's not a bad spot to be. I don't know, like I just remember we spoke so much last year about how the Royals record wise at least were underperforming. I think they were I think they were like one of the unluckiest teams according to expected wins and stuff like that.
The Baseball Reference's simple rating system had them as one of the top 3 best teams in the AL for most of the season. I think they finished 4 or 5 games under their Pythagorean record, which is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
They were a team that could have been much better than they were, and I think that we'll see some of that this year. I think the offense, the pitching is better, guaranteed. The pitching's better because when I look at this rotation, I say, well, you got the same top 3 guys, and then you got Lorenzen. I don't think is significantly worse than Singer and can be replaced, and then you've got Bubic. I think is better than Marsh, and then you've got a whole lot more depth than you had. You've got a much better bullpen. Your offense should be at least more consistent. And actually, and this is the thing that I have to keep reminding myself, was one of the best offenses in baseball until Vinny Pasquantino got hurt.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true.
So I don't get it. Like, I want the offense to be better. I'm like, give me an outfielder who can hit for sure, and I will give you a team that wins the division. But there's still wild card spots, and not a lot of teams fighting for. I mean, like everybody says, "Oh, we could," but nobody's really trying. It seems like
doesn't seem like it. It does not seem like it.
I mean, the Dodgers got all the free agents. Cool. Well, the Dodgers are in the NL, so we don't got to worry about what they do to us.
Nah, I ain't worried about them in the postseason.
I mean, we worry about them once we get to the World Series, and then we have that conversation. Okay, so I don't know if I'll go that far, but that's the only time you have to worry about the Dodgers for your playoff odds. Is the odds of beating them in the World Series.
Precisely.
Same for the Mets, for that matter.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna take a quick break. Coming up on the other side of these ads, we're gonna talk about MLB Pipeline releasing the system's top 30. Plus, Jeremy and I are going to discuss some of the top Royals players and their MLB The Show ratings. So stay tuned. All right. Welcome back to the Royals Rundown podcast. Thank you very much for joining us today. Yes, I have sold out, Jeremy. Well, all right. Peek behind the curtain. So for everyone out there. So
and for me, because I had no idea that was coming.
Yeah, I just kind of pulled that out on you. So when I upload to Spotify, it gives me Spotify is going to add their ads no matter what. And I can either predetermine where those ads go, or Spotify is just going to like lay them in randomly. And truth be told, I've been a little lazy. I've been letting Spotify predetermine it. And I got an email this week like, hey, you and Jeremy were on a really good run. We were talking about something on Sunday's podcast, and they said that they had an ad cut in. It just kind of made it really, really jarring for them. Like, you know what? If I know it's, geez, I just hit my microphone into my face. Goodness.
It was great.
It was. I know it's just one person, but if if it's one person, then there's probably 10 other folks who've noticed it
Sure.
and just haven't said anything. So we're going to give it a shot, Jeremy. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, if the ads are there regardless, then it's not selling out. It's improving the user experience. So that's the opposite of selling out, really.
Hey, we're all here for the listeners, but like I said, if the listeners out there want to reach out to us, all the stuff is down in the podcast description below, or you can go find Jeremy and I on royalsreview.com. We try to be plenty active in the comment section, as long as y'all don't get too riled up now. Okay, some of those rumblings comment sections get a little feisty. I don't like that. All right, need to keep it G rated for me. I have sensitive ears, and I just censor myself. Okay, I'm rambling now. All right, listen.
I was
Jeremy.
just, for the record, I was just staring at him, waiting to see where this was going to end up.
It did not end up very well. One thing that has ended
That
up
was a
very,
best crash for sure.
I trimmed it back a little bit, if you didn't notice. So one thing that has ended up very well for the Royals over the past couple of years is I don't think you can find someone out there who can tell you that the Royals farm system has gotten worse. This was one of the worst farm systems and probably following the 2022 season, and it has gotten incrementally better. Now I get it. You start from the bottom. The only way to go is up. But the Royals have not been mired at the bottom. And now you have guys like Jack Caglione, Blake Mitchell, Carter Jensen catching national attention.
I just remembered Jack's swing again.
Yeah. It's enough to make a grown man cry. And I think that one of the best ways I don't know, actually, I take that back. I don't know if there's a great way to gauge a organization's prospect power at a glance, but I do enjoy seeing what Royals players stick around in MLB Pipeline's top 30 from year to year. I think that if you have guys who stay in the top 10, then that means, number one, they're developing as predicted, or they're just good players. And
It
Royals
means, why aren't they in the big leagues yet?
Well, we know why Blake Mitchell's not in the big leagues yet,
Fair
Jeremy.
enough.
Okay. All right. All this to say, MLB Pipeline came out with the top 30 prospects for the Royals to start off the 2025 season. No real surprises in the top three, or in the top two, excuse me. Jack Caglione and Blake Mitchell going 1-2. Caglione is MLB's 22nd best prospect overall, so no surprise there. And then Mitchell's coming in at number 48. And then Carter Jensen, who's the third best in the Royal system, is MLB's fifth best prospect. So it wasn't that long ago that the Royals had no top 100 prospects by any evaluation standards out there. Now, for many sites, many outlets, they have 2, 3, even 4 I've seen. So we'll see how that goes. But I did find it interesting, because you go and you look year over year. There was one name that we've had on the podcast before here who has made just an amazing jump from 2024 to 2025, and that is Steven Zobak. He was 25th in 2024. Now he's the 7th best Royals prospect in the system. That is just a massive jump. And I think this is after only his second full season being a pitcher. He has looked very, very good in spring training outings so far. He's not pushing for the major league rotation yet, but he's looked good down in Surprise. He looked great for the Naturals in 2024, and
He sure did.
And he's just poised to do so again in 2025, and I would expect to see him in AAA by the middle of the 2025 season. But I thought it was great that he's made that big of a jump. And I definitely think that the Royals taking a former two-way player and turning him from like he's gonna be a good bullpen guy to like, hey, this is your third best pitching prospect in the system. I think that speaks to how the development mindset has changed. So I really wanted to highlight that, Jerry.
Yeah, this is one thing that I think has gone a little under the radar with Royals fans, is just how bad, how truly awful the player development system was for years.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing that seems to have drastically improved under JJ Piccolo and company. And that means that guys like Zobak have a chance to make those leaps. Whereas before, what we were seeing is guys, that looked like they were going to become stars just kind of completely fall off the radar instead. So it's trending up. It takes a long time for this stuff to seep through an entire system. Takes and when you add in that the scouting doesn't seem to have been going great either, with draft picks like Nick Prado, that just completely flamed out. It takes a while to fix a farm system unless you're trading off all your best guys. And the Royals haven't had to trade off all their best guys, but the farm system is gradually improving. And we're seeing a lot of that. We talked about this, I think, last time, but a lot of that, these guys, there's a whole bunch of mid-tier guys. Some of them will become upper-tier prospects. A lot of them will not. And we're starting to see the upper-tier guys separate themselves.
That we are. And I do think here are two interesting nuggets to follow up on your point, Jeremy. So top 30 prospects, 21 of them came through the draft, and only one of them came via trade from another organization. So a lot of homegrown guys here from the word go. But also MLB Pipeline and other outlets do this. They have an ETA for a player. Like, hey, when should fans expect them to make their MLB debut? They have 8 top 30 prospects with a 2025 ETA.
Who we got there? Give me the list.
Well, let me pull it up so I don't tell you wrong.
Cameron's one of them.
Let's see. Noah Cameron is one. Gavin Cross in the outfield. Super utility, and I mean super when I say this. Javier Vaz. Pitcher, Lunder Avila. Pitcher, Chandler Champlain. Pitcher, Tyson Guerrero.
Guerrero is actually projected for this year?
That he is.
Is Adam Duvall on there for this year?
No, because he's not a top 30 prospect.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
He's got, the reason I keep thinking about him is he's got just a fantastic Zips projection.
Yeah, he does.
Fantastic Zips projection. And I'm just like, is there room for a Cam Devaney somewhere? Can we find that?
I wish. That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Also, pitcher
has a really great projection too.
Oh, well, shoot. Well, then throw it out with the bathwater. Also, you have pitcher Eric Sarantola, and then the one that I'll put an asterisk on. They have Tyler Gentry listed as a 2025 ETA. I guess because he didn't get enough.
Yeah, he's still a rookie.
Yeah, he just didn't get enough play at the major league level last year, but he did make his MLB debut to that point. So I think it's interesting that, like, Gavin Cross, he hasn't played above AA, and they're still expecting Cross to be in Royal at some point
this year.
I hope so. I really do. I'm not a Gavin Cross believer. I don't think he's going to be the savior of the outfield, but I think he could definitely help. Can't hurt it.
Yeah, at this point, it does seem like a Gavin Cross. Let me look at the Zips projections here.
For old Gavin Cross.
For old Gavin Cross. Gavin Cross has a Zips projection of 0.5 FWAR with an 81 WRC plus. Melendez, in contrast, his Zips projection is going to be better than his Zips is a 0.2 with a 106 WRC plus. So
okay,
let's designate hit MJ Melendez probably, and let Cross play the out. Cross is a pretty decent right fielder by my understanding.
He is.
And then Renfroe projects to a 0.3. So, Cross is projected to be better than either of those guys.
Yeah, and Cross, to his credit, he does have above average power, run, arm. He does have above average grades in those 3 tools. And, he's average in fielding and a little lagging behind in the hit tool. But he looked pretty good for the Naturals last year, so I'm hoping that he carries that over to AAA Omaha. One last point that I did want to make before we moved on to MLB The Show, Jeremy, is some of the top tools according to MLB Pipeline. So if you're unfamiliar with the 20 to 80 scouting grade, 50 is average, 60 is above average, and 70 to 80 is kind of like that elite, very rare. Go ahead.
if you're familiar with statistics, 60 is a standard deviation better than average,
Thank you.
which is means it's a lot. Like a 50 to 60 is not a small margin.
It's not. It's not. There are 370 grade tools
Wow.
in the Royal system. So to no surprise, Jack Caglione with the 70 grade power at the
The
plate.
only surprise is that it's not 80 grade power after watching that swing, baby.
Hey, fair enough. Maybe they need to update this a little bit. 70 grade arm tool for Blake Mitchell
Yeah, that
behind the
checks out.
dish.
All right.
Yep. He was a pretty good pitcher for his high school down there in Texas. And then lastly, I will forgive you if you don't know this guy, a 70 grade fastball for 2024 draftee LP Langevin, I believe is how you say his name.
Don't know that name.
Is go look up some of his scouting film. Man is still very, very new to baseball, but wow, he does have some raw tools that should test if the Royals processes and procedures for developing pitchers can shape him into something.
He has not pitched professionally yet.
Correct. And as of right now, he is Kansas City's number 26 prospect.
He did have a 3.73 ER. Fangraphs added college stats to
Oh boy.
their thing this week. He's got a 3.73 ERA in his last year with the University of Louisiana at Lafayette team. 3.73 ERA, 15.22 strikeouts per 9. Pretty good.
Yeah.
He was a reliever primarily, though, so
Correct.
don't look for him to be a starter. He did walk more than a batter per 2 innings, so he'll have to get that control under control
That he will.
if he wants to make it to the big leagues. But hey, you can have a worse starting point than a 70 grade fastball.
Exactly. And according to MLB Pipeline, they are expecting him to start the 2025 season with high A quad cities. So
All right.
we'll keep an eye out
I
on
guess he was in
that.
college. There's no reason to start him in low A.
Yeah, just kind of skip that step. All right, let's go ahead and move on to MLB The Show, Jeremy, real quick. So
Yeah.
we got to look at some of the top players for the Kansas City Royals and MLB The Show. And I had a very pearl clutching initial reaction, like Bobby Witt Jr. He's only a 96. Oh my goodness. What are they doing? But you explained it that is that an appropriate rating for Bobby to start off the year?
So he's tied for 4th best in MLB The Show with that 96. He's tied tied for 3rd best. I've lost the link I sent you. I got to find that again. Tied with Kauffman Marte of the Diamondbacks, who's pretty damn good. 4th best. So there's 3 99s. Naturally, Shohei Ohtani is a 99. Naturally, Aaron Judge is a 99. Though I think you could argue his defense should bring him down a little bit, but that power is for real. And then Juan Soto is a 99, which I think is very interesting because MLB The Show has not super loved Juan Soto in recent years, but I guess the big deal with the Mets, they're like, let's bump him up to that 99.
Yeah.
Of course, these are offline ratings, by the way. These are not what they will be ranked at in Diamond Dynasty, which is where I'm going to spend the majority of my time.
Yes, of course. Rounding out the top 5 for the Royals, though, there's a big step down from Bobby at 96. You have Cole Reagans at 87, Seth Lugo at 86, and then Salvador Perez down at 82, and Lucas Erceg coming in at 82. I feel like these are all appropriate ratings at the very least. You can always say, oh, well, there's a little bit of small market bias against the Royals.
I think I would have had Reagans as a 90.
Yeah.
Lugo's probably about right, but I think Erceg should be right there with him. It's a little, I mean, those are the top 5 for the Royals for sure, I think. But I would have, bumped up a couple of those guys a little bit more. And honestly, I might have given Bobby a 99.
See, and that's where I was coming from, because I primarily, when I look at the preseason ratings for a sports video game, it's been Madden.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I'm still new to the show, but being a more in-depth person with MLB The Show is still fairly new to me. So I was like, oh, well, Bobby Witt Jr., when I think of a 5-tool guy who was also an MVP finalist, I think of Bobby Witt Jr. because, like you said, with Aaron Judge, the power is legit. The hit tool is amazing, but the fielding and the running, it's a little lacking. Juan Soto, kind of same thing with him. The power isn't stupendous, but man, his hit tool is probably the best in the game. Him as a 99, I was like, come on, gotta give Bobby a little bit more love. Maybe a 98.
Yeah.
Come on, give me something.
I think Judge is getting a little juice for his MVP season, and I think Soto's getting a little juice for signing the big deal with the Mets.
Hold on, are you saying that Aaron Judge is juiced? Jeremy, is that what you're saying?
Only in the sense that he probably drinks juice from time to time.
All right, I thought you were trying to break some news here on the podcast, Jeremy.
Maybe he uses batteries in some of his devices, and that juices them.
You're about as bad as I am right now.
I bet he drinks a juice every morning, like makes one of those homemade like juices with like the kale and stuff in it.
Oh yeah, for sure. He's a big guy. He's got to keep his nutrients up.
Yeah.
Hey, we got a little bit of time before we get on out of here, Jeremy. What do you think about this? What do you think about this Joe Thuney trade?
What the heck, man? I don't even know. This offseason for the Chiefs has gone in a completely different direction than anything I expected. Everything I heard was that they were not going to tag the right guard,
Trey Smith.
Trey Smith, there you go. Thank you. They weren't going to tag him. He was probably going to leave. And if anything, I thought they might extend Joe Thuney. So then to tag Trey, who's good, but not as good as Thuney, and then trade Thuney, and it sounds like they're going to try and replace him with Suamatia at left guard instead of left tackle. That means they've got a really big hole at left tackle now.
Yep.
And I don't know how they're going to fill that because there's not an obvious free agent or an obvious draft pick for that.
There's not.
They must know something I don't know, which isn't all that surprising, probably. But that was I was stunned.
Yeah.
I was stunned. Though a 4th round pick for Joe Thuney does seem about right. Maybe I feel like I wish they'd gotten a 3rd for him, but it is what he's a guard. Guards don't get that much.
Exactly. And that's so if you're unaware, I know we kind of shifted sports there real quick. The Kansas City Chiefs, they moved on from all-pro guard Joe Thuney earlier this week.
Joe Thuney.
Very, very valuable over the past few years for the Kansas City Royals.
Literally selected him as their MVP.
Right, exactly. I remember but just as shocking as this trade was him coming to the Chiefs. I remember that was a super shocking move.
True. That's also true.
When I think the Royals signed him right after that Tampa Bay Buccaneers Super Bowl loss.
Chiefs signed him. The Royals
Chiefs signed him. Thank you. Guys, see, I'm
programmed. I do that all the time.
Sorry, folks.
It's Royals season now. I can't say Chiefs.
We're not worried about football as much. I'm worried about it a little bit right now.
I mean, we're podcasting about it right this second, but we're not worried about it.
We're not worried about it. I am worried about the Royals outfield. That is something I am worried about.
Can Joe Thuney play the outfield, do you think?
You know what? We can give it a shot. All right.
I'm looking at a 300-pound offensive lineman, and I'm thinking, let's not do that, actually.
Well, I don't know. Hunter Renfroe was kind of moving like one out there in right field at points last year.
Jacob, Hunter Renfroe's going to hunt you down and show you his bat speed in person.
Yeah, I know, right? Bat speed right to my face. Sorry, Hunter. Sorry. Had to get a little dig there. There was a couple of moments where it was rough to watch out there. But all in all, I'm just really excited for the Royals season. I feel like I say this every podcast now. We
got spring training. It's like I could taste it. I could smell it. It's like when you're baking a pie, right? And you smell the pie, or you're grilling a steak and you can smell the steak and you're like, I want to eat that so bad, but it's not ready yet. And we got to wait a couple more weeks.
There's one thing that I can smell coming from Kauffman Stadium, and that's the Z-Man. Did you hear about that, Jeremy?
I saw that.
Yeah, that is going to be really cool. So if you're unaware, Joe's Kansas City is like a staple for barbecue there in Kansas City. And one of their famous dishes is the Z-Man sandwich. And to the Royals' credit, I've heard that they've really ramped up the local concessions available there in Kauffman Stadium. And now they're bringing the Z-Man to Kauffman Stadium. That'll be available this season. I think that'll be a great addition to the concession offerings, and also just a cool thing for someone being out of town and you have such a popular dish as the Z-Man readily available for them. So it'll be great, I think.
Yeah,
And then
Gates is much more iconically Kansas City barbecue than Sweet Baby Ray's.
I'll bring up Sweet Baby Ray's again.
That's what they're replacing.
I know. You're right. Another thing that the Royals announced that I do want to bring up, Fountain Pass is back for folks going out to Kauffman Stadium.
That's the pass that lets you swim in the fountain.
I wish that'd be really cool. That'd be nice. It would, wouldn't it? So here's what it is.
Pass, if that's what a fountain pass is.
No, that is not what a fountain pass is,
Jeremy. A fountain pass unlimited soft drinks from the soda fountain?
No, but that would actually be a pretty damn cool perk of the fountain pass.
I'm just saying, you can have that one, Royals. You can have that one for free.
Unlimited Pepsi products. I'm here for it. So the Royals Fountain Pass. Get access to all the home games all season long, $50 a month. You will get a guaranteed standing room ticket to every game. You could upgrade from that ticket, and that's about it. But
how much does the upgrade cost? Are you saving money doing what? How does this work?
I see it doesn't have a flat rate for upgrades. I'm sure that if you wanted to do an upgrade, they're going to have some algorithm that takes the value of the standing room ticket and subtracts it from the value of a box seat.
Okay, I gotta be honest with you, Jacob. This doesn't sound like a deal.
Really? $50 a month?
Well,
you can go to every single game
a month, but I don't want a standing room only ticket, so I'm gonna have to upgrade every time, and I'm not gonna go to every game.
Fair.
So I'm paying for a standing room only ticket for games I'm not gonna be at, and then I'm still gonna have to pay extra to get where's the discount?
The discount is probably for folks who go to more than 20 games or more than 50 games a season, I would say, who don't have season tickets.
$50 a month it's what, 15, 20 games a month? I mean, I guess that's a pretty good deal for standing room only, but then when I upgrade it, again, I got to know how much the upgrade is. If I'm getting a discount off the upgraded seats by doing that, by showing up to most games, then we can talk. But this is not, when you black box it like that, it tells me that you want my money and you don't want to tell me how much of a value I'm getting. It's like when you go in those games, they're like, we have our own currency that you pay. You can buy 100 credits for $1. And it's like, okay, why is it everything just in dollars? Well, because we want to obscure how much money is in here.
Exactly.
That's what I feel like is happening right now.
Okay, fair enough. And
someone who knows something about the upgrades on the Fountain Pass, email me or email Jacob and he'll tell me. So because I want to know, is this a good deal or am I getting scammed?
Yeah, please tell us if you used this last year, because I feel like this was popular last year, but I don't have a gauge because I didn't use this and I haven't gone to that many MLB games to say well, you know what, since I went to 10 games this month, I basically got the value out of this.
Which is what, $20 a game?
It's a steep price there for parking out in Kauffman Stadium. All right, Jeremy, what do you say we get to some Royals reviews, huh?
I say you better go first, but let's do it.
Oh, really? Well, shoot, I was just about to turn around and what book do I want to review this go around? Shoot, this is a little tough, Jeremy. Hold on 1 second. All right. I don't know if I've reviewed this one. I might have. If you don't know by now, I am a big Michael Lewis fan.
I did notice that in your stack of books you posted to social media.
Yeah. Michael Lewis, he's got a lot of pretty big books to his name. I first read him for Moneyball, but a lot of people, The Big Short was one of his big hits. Also, The Blind Side was another one. He had a book come out in 2023 called Going Infinite, and
to infinity and beyond. That's the to infinity and beyond we have at home is what that is, going
Yes.
infinite. Anyway,
Precisely.
go on,
That's
sorry.
the trademark free slogan, Jeremy. What this book is about, it's about Sam Bankman-Fried, who, if you recognize that name, he was the founder of the failed crypto exchange FTX.
The
FTX.
scam
Yeah,
that
that
stole
one.
a lot of money, got
That
him
one.
put to jail, that one? Let
Yep.
let's be clear with our language. It wasn't failed, it was a scam.
Correct. It was like a Fire Island or whatever the hell
Yeah. Do you know they're doing
party
a
was.
sequel to Fire Island? Did you see
Yeah,
that?
I did see
I
that.
don't know anything about that, but I heard it's happening, so you all know that now. Anyway, go on. I'll stop interrupting at some point.
No, it's fine. All this book is, it's a background look into FTX, the creation, who Bankman-Fried was as a person, and this came out about a month before
Right.
the.
There.
Well, I mean, I think it's interesting to hear about these people. I'm not getting
Why doesn't
sympathetic over
anyone
them.
wanna read about me, not really very successful podcaster? They wanna read about these criminals instead. That doesn't seem right. Do I need to go commit some crimes, Jacob, so that
Crime
people will care
sells.
about me?
Crime sells,
Alright,
Jeremy.
I'm gonna go commit some crimes. I'll be back.
All right, just make sure you wear a Royals Rundown podcast while you're doing so. So they.
I'm gonna wear all Royals gear and a wolf mask, probably.
That got him pretty far, didn't it? That
Yeah.
Wolf Max took him a lot of places in life, I will say, including straight to jail. The book came out about a month before they like convicted him of all the crimes. So I thought this was a good behind the scenes look into it. It's not for everyone. It's like about 300 pages. It's pretty easy to read. So it's Michael Lewis with Going Infinite from 2023. Jeremy, over to you, friend.
I'm going to review a game that I've reviewed before, but which, when I reviewed it, just to be hipster for a moment, when I reviewed it, was a game that not a lot of people were talking about yet, but which has completely exploded now that it's gone mobile and on Xbox Game Pass, and which I had put down for a while and I've picked back up again. Balatro, or Balatro, or however you want to pronounce it.
Yeah, that's been viral. I have no clue what the heck this game is, though.
So it's a roguelike game that uses the rules and iconography of poker to play a game that includes absolutely no gambling. Despite what Peggy was saying for a while. Peggy being the rating system, not a person named Peggy. It's tremendous fun. It's super addictive. It's really cool to just see all the different ways you can create winning playthroughs from, oh, I got this card that really works well with straights, or this synergy over here means if I do a whole bunch of two pairs, I'm going to do great. And it's a lot of fun. And I continue to play it on PlayStation because that's just where I like to play my games. But if you've got a chance to play it it's on everything now. It's on computer, it's on PlayStation, Xbox, Switch. I have the Switch version too. I bought it because they had a collector's edition that came with physical copies of some of the cards, the Joker cards, which are really fun little Jokers, little Easter eggs and in jokes and stuff. And it's a really interesting game. It's like really simple to learn, but there's a lot of complexity to learn as you go. That makes it really addictive and enjoyable, and not in a gambling way, but in a fun way.
Okay. All right. What was that again for our listeners out there?
Balatro or Balatro.
And listen, if you the way you're thinking it is spelled, that is how it's spelled. Trust me.
I mean, there is no official pronunciation, so I just call it Balatro and move on most of the time.
All right. I like it. All righty, folks. That is going to do it for today's episode. We appreciate you sticking around with us. We really do appreciate y'all's support, though. Make sure you never miss an episode by following or subscribing to the podcast wherever you are listening. If you want to chat with Jeremy or myself on social media, you can do so over at Blue Sky. We're active there. Our links are down in the podcast description below, or my email is as well if you want to reach out. I do appreciate those who reach out via email as well. But the best place to go read and join the community is at royalsreview.com. The news, analysis, and commentary you need on all things Royals is over at royalsreview.com. I am Jacob Milham. They are Jeremy Greco. Thank you for being here. And until next time, go Royals.